You don't stumble because you lack strength. You stumble because you keep hitting reset. But the moment you commit to showing up, really showing up, every single day, something profound begins to happen. Your clarity sharpens, your energy aligns, your path straightens, even when no one is clapping, even when it's dull, even when your fire feels like a flicker. You move, and in that movement, momentum is born. It builds, it compounds, and slowly, you become unstoppable. Stick with it long enough, and your life starts to unfold, not in chaos, but in harmony, piece by piece, like a symphony that finally finds its rhythm. The breakthrough? It doesn't come from bursts of inspiration. It arrives from the simple decision to stay in motion, to keep placing one brick, one rep, one decision, day after day. You say you want growth, but how often do your habits match your hunger? You start with drive, with passion, but by day 3, that spark dims. One skipped task becomes 2. 2 skipped actions become a pattern. And suddenly, you're back at the beginning. Sound familiar? It's not that your dream is unreachable. It's that your steps are inconsistent. A man doesn't reach the peak by walking in circles. But many live this loop. They commit only when it's comfortable, only when it's easy. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for inspiration. And they miss the truth. The one who changes the world, the one who shapes his reality, doesn't wait. He acts. Discipline isn't flashy. It's not glamorous. It's not about attention. It's quiet. It's simple. It's daily. But it's the fuel of every achievement you've ever admired. Without it, even the most beautiful vision collapses before the foundation is set. So, what's the secret? Create rhythm. Anchor your actions to the clock, not to emotion. You wake. You execute. Not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are now. You breathe. You show up. Both non-negotiable. Imagine this. One man swings an axe once a week. Another, every morning. Which one clears the forest? It's obvious. Your dream is that forest. Your daily action is the axe. Your consistency? That's the edge that cuts through resistance. So ask yourself, are you flirting with your potential on weekends? Or are you pursuing it like your life depends on it? Are you driven by emotion or anchored in your mission? If everything feels delayed, maybe the goal isn't the problem. Maybe it's your pause button. Maybe it's the way you stop and start, expecting something to change. But when you decide, truly decide, to stay the course, something amazing happens. Doors open, progress appears, and you wonder why you ever doubted in the first place. Because here's the truth. Transformation doesn't come from grand events. It comes from small wins, stacked like bricks. One daily decision that aligns with your purpose is worth more than 100 bursts of motivation. The man who trains 5 minutes every morning will outrun the man who goes all in once a month. Why? Because movement beats magnitude. Frequency beats intensity. Every small act is a vote toward becoming, a vote for the man you aim to be. And when you skip, when you stop, that's a vote against your future. But the path isn't about perfection. It's not forged in heroic moments. It's carved in rhythm, quiet rhythm, daily repetition. It starts with a win, a small one no one sees, one no one cheers for. But you know it, you feel it, and with each one, your inner confidence grows. Not in loud, dramatic ways, but in deep, unshakable ways. So how do you begin? Choose one commitment, just one. Protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. Wake early, write a sentence, walk a mile, read a paragraph, and do it even when the sky falls. Especially then, picture a man laying one brick each day. Quietly, steadily, without rush. He doesn't look up. He doesn't chase. He just builds. And one day, he steps back and sees a fortress. That's your life. That's what your routine becomes. A fortress of focus, a stronghold of self-respect. If you're brave enough to honor your small wins, your silent effort. So I'll ask you now, what's one thing you will do today? Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because if you want a future that stands tall, you must lay the brick today. Confidence isn't something you inherit. It's not gifted. It's built, earned, forged through consistent repetition. Every morning, before the world speaks, your mind whispers, "Can I trust you today?" And the way you answer isn't with thoughts, it's with action. Self-trust is not a feeling. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through stress, through effort, through showing up again and again, even when it's tough. Miss a day. That's not just a missed task. That's a vote against yourself. A quiet message that says, maybe I can't rely on me. But show up, especially when it's hard, and your inner voice starts to shift. It says, I knew you'd be here. I knew I could count on you. That's how belief is born. The strongest men you admire, the leaders, the game changers, they didn't wait to feel confident. They moved while scared. They acted before certainty. They built their courage through motion, not meditation. You want to walk boldly? First, you crawl with discipline. There's no shortcut to greatness. There's no hack to becoming who you were meant to be. There's only repetition. There's only rhythm. There's only the decision to show up. Not once, not twice, but every single day, even when it's boring, even when it's lonely, because it's in the mundane, in the unnoticed grind, that true strength is shaped. So ask yourself this: what action today will earn your own respect? What commitment will remind your mind, we finish what we start? Don't fear doubt. Fear the habit of hesitation, because hesitation weakens identity. And identity is everything. When you stop relying on mood and instead lean into motion, you begin to rewrite your reality. No longer are you a man who tries. You become a man who trains. And training doesn't stop because the sun doesn't shine. It continues through rain, through fatigue, through resistance. That's how discipline becomes identity. And when your actions reinforce that identity enough times, something remarkable happens. Belief becomes automatic. You're no longer asking, can I? You're living as, I do. Now let's talk about loyalty, not to others, but to your own dream. Discipline is simply that, loyalty in action. Not when it's easy, not when it's popular, but when no one's watching. You say you want to build a legacy? Then treat your dream like it matters. Not just in words, but in minutes. In how you protect your time. In how you manage your focus. Distractions are not accidents. They are choices. And every time you trade your vision for convenience, you dilute your own potential. But here's the empowering truth. You can reverse it. You don't need a dramatic change. You need to define your plan and follow it fiercely, not with part of your heart, but with your whole being. Picture a craftsman in his workshop. Every day, same tools, same movement, same discipline, no audience, no cheerleaders, but every stroke sharpens his edge. Every hour strengthens the blade. That's what it looks like to master your mission. So now picture you, hammering at your dream. Are you striking only when it feels good? Or every day, no matter the weather? If you only act when it's convenient, you build a future that's fragile. But if you show up relentlessly, you become unshakable. And here's the real test. Can you be trusted by yourself? Not someday now. Because greatness doesn't ask if you're ready. It asks if you're reliable. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. You don't need motivation. You need structure. A rhythm that continues when excitement fades. Because it will fade. But your discipline? That's your edge. That's your weapon. And that's the foundation that holds when everything else wavers. Repetition creates reality. You don't become what you dream. You become what you repeat. So ask yourself, what are you rehearsing daily? Strength or struggle? excellence, or excuses. Every act is a vote. Every decision is a declaration. And every moment, you're either building the future you want or the one you'll regret. It's tempting to believe that success comes from sudden breakthroughs, from flashes of inspiration, or a single big win. But the truth, it's built in silence, in consistency, in the seemingly invisible actions you repeat when no one's watching. The man who achieves mastery isn't driven by emotion. He's guided by routine. He doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" He acts because he's chosen to live by design, not impulse. Imagine a sculptor. Each day, he returns to the same stone. He chips away, stroke by stroke. For weeks, maybe months, there's nothing to show. But he trusts the process. He keeps going. Until one day, form appears. Not because of one strike, but because of every single one before it. That's what greatness looks like. The world doesn't honor those who begin. It honors those who finish. And the only way to finish is to keep moving, especially when nothing seems to be happening. Most people stop not because they're weak, but because they confuse lack of results with lack of progress. They don't see the harvest, so they stop watering the seed. But that's the test. Are you willing to trust the unseen? Are you disciplined enough to repeat the work without needing immediate feedback? Because the reward is always delayed. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. It's the universe's way of asking, do you mean it? Will you stay the course even when the applause is gone? Every consistent act, every quiet repetition is a brick in the life you're building. Not with noise, but with quiet power. The kind that compounds. The kind that echoes long after you're done. And here's what separates the uncommon man. He knows that growth lives in boredom. That mastery is forged in the monotony, not in novelty, not in variety, but in the return. Return to the page. Return to the gym. Return to the grind. While others chase the next new thing, you keep stacking. You keep swinging. And over time, your life begins to transform. Not because you chased greatness, but because you honored your process. So, how do you win? You fall in love with the repetition. You see it not as a chore, but as a chisel. The chisel that carves your strength, that sharpens your edge, that forms your identity. Think of a violinist. For years, he plays the same scales, over and over. No spotlight, no crowd, just fingers bleeding, soul steady. Until one day, the world hears what he built in silence. And they call him gifted. But you know better. It wasn't talent. It was time. It was repetition. Now think of yourself. Are you picking up a new tool every week? A new routine? A new trick? A new shortcut? Or are you sharpening the same blade until nothing can stop it? The man who jumps from one plan to another may feel excited, but he never gains mastery. He trades depth for distraction. He has motion, but no momentum. So ask yourself, do I want to be entertained, or do I want to be excellent? Because excellence isn't exciting. It's disciplined. It's measured. It's built in mornings when no one is watching, in sessions when no one is clapping, in choices that feel small, but change everything. Repeat it until it's part of you, not because you're chasing applause, but because this is who you've chosen to become. A man of rhythm, a man of execution, a man who doesn't need a mood because he's built a mission. The world will see the results later, but you will feel the shift now. Your time is not just minutes on a clock, it's your life in motion. And once spent, it doesn't return. No rewind, no refund, no second shot at today. So, why do so many treat it like spare change? Every time you delay, distract, or drift, you're not just wasting hours. You're wasting your power, your potential, your becoming. Time is the container that holds your future. If that container leaks, so does your strength. Your energy is not infinite. Your drive isn't invincible. That's why structure matters. That's why routines aren't cages. They're shields. They guard your focus. They protect your direction. Without a clear schedule, your goals die, not loudly, but quietly. One missed day. One scroll too long. 1 hour lost to just this once. And before you know it, your dream has vanished into a pile of distractions. So what's the solution? Command your day before it commands you. You don't stumble because you lack ambition. You stumble because you didn't claim your hours. Your calendar isn't just a plan. It's a commitment, a contract with your own vision. You want to build something lasting? Then give your goals a home in your schedule. Not just intention, allocation, structure, boundaries. Because if you don't decide where your energy goes, the world will decide for you. And it will steal more than you think. Picture two men. One wakes up and reacts. He checks his phone, answers messages, scrolls endlessly. He starts, stops, starts again. And by night, he's drained, not from purpose, but from noise. The other wakes up and opens his blueprint. He knows what matters. He begins with intention. He builds, brick by brick. No rush, no panic, just construction. Which one creates something real? It's the second man, not because he's more talented, but because he honors his hours. Because he treats his time like it matters, like it's sacred. And that's how it should be. Every hour is an investment. Every minute, a seed. And the harvest? That's your life. That's your future. That's your impact. So here's the challenge. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start treating time like your most valuable currency. Not someday. Now. Block the hours. Show up on time. For your goals, not just for meetings. Honor your own appointments with the same respect you give to others. Why? Because your future self is already sitting in that room, waiting, watching, and he's asking one question. Did you show up for me today? This isn't about hustle. It's about honor. It's about building a life that's not at the mercy of the day, but one that sets the tone from the moment you wake. You don't need more hours. You need ownership. You need to claim the ones you already have. That's what builds the structure for a consistent life. A life that grows. A life that moves forward. One protected block of time at a time. The man who guards his day doesn't just make progress. He builds freedom. Because he no longer hopes to succeed. He creates the conditions for success. So let me ask you, are you reacting to your life? Or are you directing it? Everyone wants recognition. Everyone wants to be seen, applauded, celebrated. But the real question is, do you want praise more than progress? Most crave the spotlight before they've earned the stage. They want the crown without carrying the weight. But the wise, they understand the truth. Greatness isn't born in attention. It's forged in the unseen. Real power grows in private. It grows in the hours when no one is looking, when no one is clapping, when you wake before the world and choose to honor your craft, when you sharpen your skill without applause, without reward, just commitment. There's a sacred freedom in being unknown. It's the space where your edge is formed, where your strength is tested, where your identity is built without performance, only purpose. While others post, you prepare. While others boast, you build. While others seek to impress, you choose to improve. That's the path of the few. That's the path of the unshakable. Imagine a craftsman, alone in his shed. There's no crowd, no music, just the rhythm of repetition, the echo of effort, the silence of self-respect. Each movement may feel the same, but every one matters. Because repetition isn't just habit. It's transformation. Day after day, he shapes something the world hasn't seen yet. Until one day, when the doors open, and everyone stares in awe at what he's created. They'll call it talent. They'll say he's gifted. But you'll know better. It was time. It was sweat. It was silence. And it was consistency when no one was watching. You must become that man. not the one who seeks praise, but the one who builds a foundation so solid, so unshakable, that the world can't ignore it when it arrives. You don't need a crowd. You need character. You don't need validation. You need vision. You don't need to be seen. You need to become. Because when the moment finally comes, when your time arrives, you won't need to pretend. You won't need to fake strength. You'll simply be ready. You won't have to chase the light. The light will find you. So fall in love with the process, with the silence, with the grind, because that's where the real you is being built. The early mornings, the quiet evenings, the lonely reps, the invisible efforts. These are the bricks of legacy. Let others talk. Let others post. Let others perform. You prepare. You train. You build. Because the day will come when the curtain rises. And when it does, the man who stayed faithful in the dark will be the one the world stands to applaud. Starting is easy. It's exciting. It's filled with energy, with vision, with possibility. Every man has stood at the beginning of something, full of fire, full of intent. But the world doesn't reward beginnings. It rewards completion. It's not about how strongly you start. It's about how relentlessly you finish. Look around. The world is full of unfinished projects, half-written books, abandoned businesses, unlived dreams, not because people weren't capable, but because they stopped too soon. And maybe that's been you. Maybe you've started with passion and faded when the road got quiet, when no one was watching, when the excitement ran dry. But that can change today, because the real difference between the man who achieves and the man who almost did is this: completion. Finishing is a decision, a quiet, powerful decision to keep moving when it's no longer fun, when the sparkle is gone, when the doubts creep in. The final stretch is not the easiest, it's the hardest. Not because it requires more talent, but because it demands more grit, more patience, more faith. That's where most stop. At 80%. At almost. At good enough. But not you. You are here to finish. To follow through. To be the one who keeps showing up. So when fatigue whispers, "You've done enough," you go one more round. When resistance says, "Take the day off," you lean in harder. Because this is where growth happens. Where champions are built. In the final miles. In the closing reps. In the decision to keep pushing when everything in you says stop. Picture a runner. He's led the whole race. But in the last 100 meters, he eases up. Assumes the win. Behind him, another runner. Slower, less flashy. But he never stopped pushing. And in that final moment, he overtakes. Not because he was faster, but because he refused to slow down. That's the finisher. That's the man who builds legacy. So ask yourself, what have you left incomplete? What bridge did you walk halfway across and then retreat? What dream sits idle, waiting for you to return? Go back, pick it up, finish it, because there is a rare kind of power, a deep, unshakable pride, that comes only from finishing what you start. You don't need to be the best. You need to be faithful, faithful to the end. You want self-respect? Complete your commitments. You want momentum? Close your loops. You want mastery? Carry the mission to the finish line. And here's the beauty of it all. Once you learn to finish, you unlock a new version of yourself. One who doesn't just try. One who doesn't just begin. One who builds, completes, and conquers. Because in the end, it's not the grand vision that changes your life. It's the repeated decision to keep your word to yourself. So finish strong. Not because someone is watching. Not because someone will praise you. But because that's who you've become. The kind of man who doesn't leave things half-built. The kind of man who finishes.